Hey, how's it going? You are listening to another episode of Your Worst Song. And I'm your host, Alex Southey. It's been a long one getting to this little kid interview. I think we started talking about the possibility of uh, Kenny coming on maybe in July or August of last year. We talked a lot about song structure. We talk a lot about context and what that can do to new and old music depending on what you're working on or depending on what you think about your old music. And in general, there's a lot that I learned just about the way Little Kid the band approaches making their music and the different ethi they have towards how they want to shape things and what that means for live shows. Speaking of live shows, one of the spaces we spoke about was Transac. I guess I'm just deciding because I have more time at the end of this intro to shout out a local spot. Transac's great. See if it makes sense to play your music there, or just go as a fan of different types of music. I'm Alex Southey. This is Your Worst Song. Okay, so then let's talk a bit about music. Like, when did you, as opposed to when did Little Kids start, when did you start actually the practice of songwriting? Like, different than just
Mm.
starting with an instrument, but when you were like, oh, I'm beginning to write structured pieces.
Yeah, when I was in the to be honest, the first song I wrote by myself that was a finished song was probably the first Little Kid song.
Oh, really?
But
Oh, okay, okay.
I did write songs with my friends, but they were very much joke bands. Like we had a million bands in high school that were just different iterations, different groupings of the same like
Yeah.
10 or so friends, and all of them had some stupid concept
It'd be like a
and
pun name, probably,
yeah,
or
just
yeah.
some concept for a band, and it might even be discussed for a long time, and we never actually record. But we've got this long list of all these bands. But we did record stuff, and really poorly, usually with computer mics and not
Uh-huh.
really overdubbing, and we didn't really know what we were doing. But we wrote a lot of songs together, or just improvised a lot of songs, and after a while. Our recordings did get a little more better. A little better. My friend Miles had like kind of a studio thing he built in his basement, and we used to do these 24-hour albums together, him and I. And they were still like there's this ironic kind of distance. It was joke songs still in a lot of
Uh-huh.
ways, but I think we both were trying to make music we liked a little more in this way, and
There's
so
clearly
I think it was
effort
all
there if the person has
yeah,
decided to make a studio in their
for
basement, right?
sure. I
Yeah.
think music was really important to us, and maybe we were just like, I think we were still as people kind of developing the ability to feel feelings and express them, and so I think when I got a little more mature and I wanted to tackle that, it wasn't until like I guess I was 19 or so. I think I wrote the song that became a Little Kid song, and um, yeah, so that there was a journey of kind of this ironic um, song making before that did act as practice, though I think for recording and for I guess maybe having that ironic distance helped to make music and not care that it was not very good. I think that a lot of people start making music and maybe you're like, oh my god, I made this awful song.
Yes,
I'm
they
so
get stuck
excited to
on the
make
fact
another
that
one.
it doesn't sound like their favorite
Yeah,
band
yeah,
immediately. Yeah. That's so
for sure.
interesting that you I'm really like preoccupied with people who are were had the confidence to make, like, yes, you were doing it ironically, and irony is a bit of a shield, especially for teenagers
Yeah,
when they're expressing themselves. But still, even to do it ironically, that's still like, that means that's your sense of humor that you're putting out there,
true. Yeah.
and that's an expression. And it's a preoccupation with me, the people who had the confidence to do that. So I want to hear what it was like with your friend. Like, for example, you listed the 24-hour albums. I can ascertain what that means. You try and make an album in 24 hours, but how do you stumble into that for the first time? What's it like when you do it for the second time? You've gone through it for the first time and go,
Hmm.
okay, now we have different goalposts. you know?
Yeah, honestly, it was just a good time with my friend Miles. They were sleepovers kind of, like
Yeah.
we would go to his house and we'd bring. I think usually we came in with a loaf of bread and a thing of peanut butter, and we were just were making peanut butter sandwiches kind of to survive.
Yeah,
And
you
we
gotta
had
keep your
these like,
protein up. All that peanut butter
yeah,
protein.
exactly.
Yeah.
And we were allowed to leave to go to the washroom, but we had to put a blanket over our heads and feel our way to the bathroom, which was across the basement, and then we could take the blanket off when we got to the bathroom. That is
That's
so silly.
awesome.
We just were like, we had to, remove all stimuli or whatever.
Totally,
Um,
totally.
but it was really fun. I mean, that band was like, I won't say the name because you probably can find it on the internet. I
Sure.
think there's maybe traces of it, but it's like we did kind of a mix of really kind of Neanderthal rock riffs, and then just like ambient and like kind of layers of weird sounds, and so it was a weird combo of types of songs that we did, but definitely the big riff songs were a little more upfront, like stupid, like we'd have some hook or whatever that we thought was a funny kind of song, and then the I think when we made the weirder stuff, we it was less of a joke. We were kind of like enjoying layering
Mm.
these different sounds and kind of making like we made kind of trippy music sometimes, like, and we weren't like, I think both of us at that time had never even tried like smoked weed or something,
Right,
like we
right.
were like really straight laced little teenagers, and so it was definitely like a joke to make trippy music in some way, but we were kind of enjoying making these kind of journey type trippy kind of adventure albums. I don't know. So
What
it was a good time.
okay, I have two questions just to get a better understanding of what those two types of things. So like big dumb rock riffs, I guess is what you mean, or like I'm imagining almost like stoner rock but slower and dumber. Uh
I think so.
okay, and
It's
then
like or like
yeah.
what you'd hear on like a rock station, like everything or nothing but rock, like kind of just like capital R rock, like
Yeah.
big riffs and just
Big riffs and yet
stupid
they're
songs.
bland,
Yeah.
kind of.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh
It kind of it's hard. It's a funny thing, like when you can play a riff that can make your friend laugh, like a riff can make you laugh. Like it's a funny thing. This riff is so I don't know, so silly,
yeah.
but it is also kind of could be just that the riff is so normal, or it goes exactly where you expect it to go in this kind of stupid way. Like
Yes.
it's a funny thing, and I mean I
It's
think that
based
was
on the
something between us.
understood, it's like the context that's shared between you two. That's why it's able to be, it's funny. You both know
Yeah,
where
for
it's coming
sure.
from.
Yep. And I think you could probably overthink these things. I mean, we were just teenagers goofing around, but like I guess it's playing with tropes and a little
Yeah.
bit and playing with stereotypes. Or this is I'm putting on this rock star
Sorry, my
thing with the riff.
landlord just came to the door and has a package for me. One second,
Oh, no
I
worries,
gotta
no
grab
worries.
that.
Yeah,
Thank you very much. Okay, thank you. Whoops, sorry about that.
no problem.
Sorry, there's no overhang. I live in a basement suite and there's no overhang and it's raining, so I didn't just want to like leave her there. Anyway,
For
uh,
sure. Yeah, no
okay.
problem.
Okay, so I understand what you mean by the big rock riffs, but then my other question was going to be when you say trippy music, I feel like somebody listening to that could think, well, trippy could be like Echoes, Pink Floyd. Trippy could be like uh, trip hop, like
Hmm.
Portishead, or that kind of odd atmospheric thing, or it could be way out there, like something in hip hop or something in rap or so.
Yeah.
So, what
Well,
would you say is the closest?
I think Pink Floyd is probably close. My friend really liked Pink Floyd.
Okay.
He was into like Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, all of the classic rock stuff. Later on, I remember getting an album by Fripp and Eno, like an ambient album that has a lot of guitar loops, and I had got a loop pedal, and I was pretty intrigued by that. And so this was maybe when we were in our late teens, early 20s. Like we did I think maybe 4 or 5 of these albums across a few years, and we got a little more into just like like textures of guitar loops and more like actual ambient music maybe a little bit, um but yeah, so silly stuff, but formative explorations of recording and making music we liked a little more, and working our way up to maybe being more sincere in a way.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, that's an interesting thing because you said it. You were doing it in your late teens and early 20s, and if I remember correctly, you said that the first little kid, what would be a little kid song, you wrote around 19. So it's interesting
yep.
that you were writing more. Well, stuff that I assume you don't just think everything you do in Little Kid is ironic or a joke. You like it and enjoy it. So
Yeah,
it's interesting that you began writing that sincere stuff while at the same time still sort of transitioning
yeah,
your style with your buddy.
yeah. There
Uh,
was some overlap for sure.
yeah, I kind of want to hear about that. Like when you start writing your own stuff, are you then nervous to bring it to your buddy who you've just been making jokes with? Or are you like, no, Miles is going to dig this. This is cool.
Yeah. Oh, I was definitely nervous. Not so much for with Miles. I mean, Miles was a good friend. I think I was nervous that the songs were very personal, and they were very like they were very much about religious things and pondering big questions and stuff that like I said, I was still developing my kind of ability to be sincere or to pinpoint my own emotions and things. And um, so I think that the songs were maybe about things that I hadn't talked very well about with my friends, and so I think it was stressful to first make music and put it out, put it on Bandcamp or MySpace. I think even was around at the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And know that my friends might hear these ideas that I've been thinking about that I haven't necessarily talked with them about it. And I did have a lot of friends who were coming from a similar kind of upbringing with Christianity and stuff. So I think that was more of a layer of stress, was just like, oh, I'm gonna expose that I am having doubts or kind of going through this thing. But
Oh,
also,
okay.
yeah, I think that regular level of just like I if or I guess coming to terms with like when you put a song out, you're like you at least on some level you're thinking this is good or something, like this is good enough to put out or something. And so
Yep.
there were definitely probably some layers of nerves about that.
Yeah.
Um,
And as a teen,
yeah,
late teen, you're just like, oh, I don't want anybody to know what I really think about anything.
yeah,
Uh,
for
and then you
sure.
get to a point where you feel like I'm sure you are now, you're more comfortable with that side of yourself or being seen for that side of yourself as a songwriter or a musician or whatever.
Yeah.
Uh, which actually maybe leads me to I think what would be an interesting question. What which I haven't really asked too much before, but what's the first time you felt like I'm like a capital M musician? I'm
Mm.
doing it.
Um, I mean, Brody and I talk about this sometimes. He's the drummer for Little Kid, and he was
Yeah,
the first person who joined the band other than me. Um, and we're like, in hindsight, we're like, I think we definitely thought we were good at what we were doing earlier than
that's
we should
always the
have, or something
case.
like
Yes.
or like what were we already somehow in 2013, 14, whatever, emailing bands to be like, can we open for you or whatever. And in hindsight, we were not ready to do any of that stuff. We were kind
Yeah.
of still figuring out our thing. And um, I think I definitely was probably still dealing with some doubts about myself, and sometimes feeling less confident, or but I think I was. I guess finishing the first album, making it was very handmade. I recorded it with 4 track and dubbed the tapes myself and cut the little packages up. And I remember feeling pretty proud of it, just that I finished a body of songs or something, and made I thought they looked cool. And we booked a show at a venue I liked in London, Ontario, and people came, like friends came, and it felt like a good night. So it might have been the first one where I was like, okay, this is going well-ish, trying to make my own songs. And um, but yeah, I think I was confident kind of pretty quickly for whatever reason. I guess just getting some feedback from friends and things when I was making the songs, and um, feeling good about them. In hindsight, yeah, of course. I mean, it comes up a lot in your podcast, but like in
Yeah.
hindsight, you're maybe like, oh, those songs were
Yeah.
not the best now. But at the time, you were feeling like, yeah, I'm doing it, and I made an album, and I'm proud of myself, and
Yeah, it's
that
sweet.
kind of thing.
People usually do act like that, but they're also like you in that they almost look back on it fondly. Like,
Yeah,
oh,
for sure.
that they were trying. They really
Yeah,
thought they were
exactly.
doing
To
something
to
and
be so innocent again, and to be so
exactly. And that ambitious
bright-eyed
and
about it. Yeah, yeah,
nicely ignorant in a weird way.
for sure. Yep.
Uh I want to learn more about how you learned to do the 4 track. Like that's not something people in our general generation totally know how to do. So
Yeah.
like you're just sort of stating it as though yes, yes, of course that is of course the way I was going to do it. So how did you learn that?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I would have. I would kind of say I didn't learn it. I think that
Oh,
it
you just
sounds pretty
know it.
bad. No, it just the recordings were poor quality. I
Oh,
mean, I
I
I
see, I see.
I like I bought a. I remember Brody showed me the microphones, like the band, the microphones, when I was, I guess, 18, maybe 17 or 18. And he showed me the Glow Part 2, and I remember definitely being like, "Oh my god, this is cool music." I didn't realize all the music that's recorded with digital technology sucks, and now I know that analog is really cool. Or there was something going on
Yeah,
with
yeah.
that, and I liked Godspeed You Black Emperor and the Silver
Uh-huh.
Mount Zion, and a lot of this kind of post rock, and a lot of their stuff was recorded on tape. And I definitely had an era there of kind of just thinking the only way to record is analog, and I've
Mhm.
got to get a 4 track. And at that time, it was like, um, obviously, it was past. It was many years after that kind of era of lo-fi music, so it wasn't like I was like ahead of the curve or anything. But it was easy to get a 4 track for like $30 at that time. Like I remember, I bought this 4 track on eBay for $30 or something, and that 4 track now I could sell for like $400 or something ridiculous. It's just the stupid little plastic thing. Um, but I ordered it on eBay. I remember, I think it was $35 with the shipping or something, and someone sent
Wow.
me this thing in a box, and I just kind of looked at the manual and saw okay. And I mean, it's honestly a great way to learn how to record, um, just fundamentals of it, because I still would not say I know how to record. I don't really know how to mix things very well,
Okay.
but you could kind of just slap a mic in front of the guitar and do 1 track and do a track of vocals, and you had 4 layers you could put on. And
Mhm.
I didn't really put a lot of consideration into where the mic would go, or um, is that is the volume level of the input right. Like I
I know
wasn't
what you
thinking about
mean.
that. And
Yeah.
so it was really and I mean, if you listen to the first Look It album, it sounds pretty bad, like by most metrics. And like different songs have different volumes and different like hiss level,
Yeah.
like ratio to
That's
like sound.
exactly
And
the same as the stuff that I was
yeah,
doing too. Yeah, yeah.
for sure, yeah. So it's charming, and I mean, I love a lot of albums that have pretty bad mixing or pretty bad recording, and there is the charm, and it is that same thing we're talking about, that bright-eyed kind of ambition, and not really worrying about it too much, and it has some nice results. So being an outsider, I can see that probably be pretty charming. Still, the album,
Sure.
and I am also charmed by it. I would say I definitely look at it as the person who did it probably being like, oh, geez, or my voice sounds terrible there or something. But
Right, right.
um, it's a cute memory of myself just kind of trying stuff, and being young, and recording trains with a tape recorder
That sounds
and putting
cool.
them in my song. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's a nice era.
Yeah, and I think also what's so funny is even if you are objectively or nearly objectively right that it is poorly recorded or whatever else, uh, fans of yours that just, let's say, next single you release, you get a new fan, they maybe like it so much that they go back to check out that first album and they understand that, yeah, it doesn't sound that good, but I love it because I have the context of what came later too.
Yep.
I
Yep.
think that helps a lot as well. It's cool the
Yeah,
way that
it makes
changes.
sense
Yeah.
for sure.
Uh, well, let's get into the major questions, and more will spring from that. All right. So the first question I usually ask is, what's your favorite live gig memory?
Favorite live gig memory.
Yeah.
Um, it might be recency bias, but
Okay.
I think the release show when we played, um, that the newest album we played at the Transac.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Which room did you play
it
in the
was
Transac?
in the main hall,
Nice.
and we played with, the opener was Eliza Niemi, who I know was on your podcast a little while
Yep.
ago,
Yep.
and Advanced Bass, who used to be Cassio Tone for the Painfully Alone, and he runs Arundel Records. He put our album out, so he came up from Chicago for it, and we played with everybody who's ever played in Little Kid was there. So it was like a big lineup, everybody, which is rare to be able to kind of pull off,
That's
like
cool.
logistically and financially.
Yeah.
So I think it's got to take the cake, just because we had a piano there, we had all the instruments we ever wanted, and we played the album through, which I always really like to do for an album release show, even though it logistically is annoying. People are maybe switching instruments between every song and things, but it was a really special show, and it was like people turned up, and it was a kind of a snowy kind of day. It was actually almost exactly a year ago. It was March 22nd,
Huh.
and it was just such a nice day. People came out despite the snow, and we just I think played really well. I think we were all kind of like really in the zone and listening to each other, and like I was feeling very tearful and kind of just grateful. It was a long time to finish that album compared to our other ones, so I was really trying to be present, and I was feeling really grateful for the people that I played music with, and that we got to get together and do it properly. And um, so I think yeah, that's probably going to be hard to ever top that. But it was just a really beautiful night, and things went well. We had a good sound check and things too. So like, and Pat, shout out to Pat McKenna, did sound and
Mm-hmm.
it made it sound really good.
Oh,
So that was a great night. Yeah,
what
probably the best one.
what is or how do you take in the moment? You just said you were trying, you're really trying to appreciate it in the moment, and
Mhm.
that's something I think most people struggle with, literally living in the moment and appreciating it at the time. So how did you
Yeah.
do that? Do you take a moment of silence while you're on stage? Do you just look around you? Do you fucking try and make your heart open and what?
Yeah, it's hard. I think because I remember the next night we went to Montreal, and it was just one of those days where it takes forever to get to Montreal, and you're tired, um, and the show that one it was at Casa del Popolo, and
Yeah.
the sound there. I love that venue. I really have seen great shows there. But if you play loud music in there, it sounds so weird. Like it's all bouncing back off there's like a metallic ceiling kind of and stuff.
Okay,
So
yeah, yeah.
things were sounding pretty just like weird on stage, and you couldn't tell what was happening. And I was like kind of feeling quite grumpy all of a sudden. Like after a couple songs, I was like, why do we come back here? I should remember what it's like to play here and blah blah blah. And I
Mhm.
was like maybe 3 or 4 songs into our probably eight song set, and I just was like all of a sudden like, Kenny, this is the gig. Like this is what we came for. We just drove here to do this thing. Like, and I was able to thankfully kind of notice that and be like, just relax. Like this is actually very fun. Like you're playing the songs, and the
Mhm.
people are here, and it's a nice night. And I think I said this in the microphone. I might have just been like, I was having a bit of a weird time. I'm trying to be present here, and maybe thank the band and thank people, and took a minute to kind of just calm my nerves and be like, I'm gonna enjoy playing the song, and
Good.
we'll play another one kind of thing. So I think sometimes I'm able to spot it and be like, all right, can you I think take some deep breaths and try to like actually stop my heart from beating so fast. Sometimes my heart is really going when I first start, or there's a lot of adrenaline in the first song or whatever, and
Totally.
just be like, okay, we're on, we're here now. We played a couple songs, we broke the seal. Let's play the songs and enjoy it, and kind of just look at the people. I think for me, especially my bandmates are like my friends, and people I really love and respect and stuff too. So if I can look at them, that usually helps. I'm like, oh yeah,
Oh,
there's Brody on the drums, and there's Megan and singing with me, and it can help a bit too. So
that's
that's
quite
a nice thing
nice.
about playing a band. Yeah,
Yeah, wow. And also it's good to remember that. Like if every musician's show was like the one that you had at Transac, everybody would
yeah,
be a musician who picked up a
for
guitar
sure.
because
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yep,
It's more likely to be the Montreal style, unfortunately.
yep. A lot of
Okay,
times,
well, obviously the Montreal one wasn't as good compared to the Transac one, but my second question is usually what is your worst gig memory?
the worst one.
Yeah.
Huh. Worst gig memory. Um, well, I guess does it have to be for Little Kid, or can it be another band like back
This
in the
can be
day?
whatever you want. Yeah, just
Okay,
yeah, you can be
then
open with
it's
it.
easy in that case. I think because when we were kids, when we were in high school,
Uh-huh.
there was this there was this thing in Ontario called Supernova. Did you
Hmm.
ever know about Supernova
It's the
shows?
battle of the bands thing, right?
It's a battle of the band
Yeah.
structure.
Yeah.
It's very exploitative in hindsight. It's so funny. Like it's terrible. Whoever had this idea, they're like, we're
Yeah.
gonna get a bunch of children mostly, and then like weirdly old guys in metal bands. We're gonna have that. We're gonna put those people all in the same room. Great
Yeah,
idea
sure.
to start with.
Of
We're gonna
course.
give them tickets, physical tickets. We're gonna say, sell these. You're not gonna keep the money from that. You bring the money to us, and based on
Just
how many you've
exposure.
sold, yeah,
Wow.
based on how many sold, you'll get a better set time. And if you are voted by the judges to win, you have a chance to win recording time or whatever. They had a bunch of prizes.
Right, right, right.
So already just that structure, you're like, okay, that sounds like the worst game I've ever played, right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
pretty bad, but we did it with our friends, and we had three different friend bands on the same bill of like 10 bands in Chatham, Ontario, which is a small town kind of
Right.
near the town I grew up. And so I remember we had three of us, and the band I was in was a total joke band. It was me and Miles, that same friend, and our friend
Mhm.
Paul, who plays bass in Little Kid now, actually.
Okay.
And this band, I won't name in case there's traces on the
Sure.
internet of this band, but it was like it was kind of industrial music, we said, and we had this
Okay.
whole lore about us being alien life forms, and we wear like buckets on our heads and stuff, and Paul would
Okay.
slap us in the head while we were playing, and it was like it's a very
I love
unhinged
it.
performance art kind of thing. And
Uh-huh.
so we were like, us playing was kind of a joke, and we probably hadn't even practiced very much, but we were like, we're not gonna like prioritize our set. Our other friend's band was like a little more of a serious thing, so we were bringing some friends, but we thought we'll give all our tickets to that other band so they can play a better set time. And so when we showed up, we told them we sold zero tickets, and then or one ticket or whatever it was. And so we got there and we drove to Chatham. And I think that night I locked my keys in my van. I
Oh,
might be mixing memories up, but I think that also happened. So it was kind of a stressful night.
yeah.
And then, but then we got in there and we got loaded in at probably 2 p.m. or something for this, 10 band bill that's going to happen. And they told us, okay, well, based on set times, or based on ticket sales, these are the set times. And this band was gonna gonna go on at 2 a.m. And I think it was a Thursday night, and we were in high school, and we were like, we are not gonna play, or it must have been 1 a.m. or something.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
like the end of the night, and we were like, okay, well, we're not going to play because we have school tomorrow. Like, there's no way we're staying that late.
Mhm.
So that was probably the worst show. We didn't play.
Oh.
We did all the loading in and all the ticket
Oh.
hustling without the actual show. But we did watch our friends' bands play. I think this is such a hazy memory. It's more just the structure of it and
Yeah.
the letdown of being like, oh, we don't even get to play.
The more you
That's
talked
probably a
about it,
shoe in.
that by name Supernova has definitely come up on other people's episodes. I
I
think
bet. Yeah.
possibly when I spoke to Sean from Barbecue Pope and possibly
Mhm.
another person named Jess Revita. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
Maybe they're at the same gig. Maybe they had the coveted
Po-
8 p.m. slot at the same gig. Who
exactly,
knows?
possibly, yeah.
Yeah.
Who knows? Okay, okay. That and by the way, when you say Chatham, is that Chatham, Kent? Is that the same
Yeah,
area?
yeah. That
Oh,
I was from Lambton County. I grew up in Petrolia in Oil City, Ontario, and Chatham was just, I think, south of that kind of region was Chatham, Kent,
so
like Dresden, and yeah.
when did you decide? Okay, it's Toronto. Then I'm going with Toronto.
Well, back at that time, I mean, being in high school and being into music, and um, we we were kind of right halfway between Detroit and Toronto. Like we both were maybe a 3 hour drive from there. So as soon as some of us had our licenses, like in hindsight, I'm like a little surprised my mom was down for us to do this stuff. But we would go to shows in Detroit or we'd go to shows in Toronto. Like
Damn, yeah.
not super often, but every maybe month or so we'd have had like we were a lot of us were into more kind of emo and kind of Christian adjacent stuff. Like Me Without You was probably my favorite band in high
Mm,
school. We went to see them a lot of times, and um, so back then I would go to Detroit or I'd go to Toronto for shows, and of course music was becoming a big part of my life. Where I was very excited about going to those shows and like, some life changing times, and Toronto became this kind of symbol of music happens there, like bands come there, and maybe someday I could live there and I could just walk to a show and I could go to shows more often. And
mhm.
so as a teenager I would dream of maybe living in Toronto someday. But I moved to London for university,
Mhm.
London, Ontario,
Yeah.
and it was a bigger city, but pretty small city still. We had like a bit of a local music thing going on there, but not a lot of bands would come through there, and we still would drive to Toronto for shows once in a
Right.
while. And so eventually I made it happen. I was like, maybe when I go to teachers college, I could get in Toronto, and I was able to get in at U of T, and that's when I moved here, and I was able to kind of just stay since then. So
So when you got to Toronto and after you'd built it up in your head as a teenager and only seeing it once a month and in those times only seeing these cool shows with bands you want to see, what was it like
Mhm.
when you got there day to day and it was like, okay, this is Toronto.
Well, honestly, at first it was every bit as magical as I thought, and I think
Okay.
honestly, if I can be present and mindful, it still is in many ways. Like, I mean, I try not to take for granted that I can do that. Like, I can walk to a show and see a transcendent thing happen sometimes. It is really, really nice. Um, so yeah, it was everything I hoped for when I first moved here. I was 24, so I was still pretty young. I feel like, and like I was um, super glad to just be able to go to shows all the time. And my whole thing was, I mean, I was in teacher school. It was pretty intense, like
Yeah, right.
like a work life thing for a while there. But I still was going to as many shows as I can and spending all my money on records and things. I was very excited about the music stuff. And but yeah, I love Toronto. It's just like, I mean, like everything. I feel like it's a depressing, the direction things are going with housing and like things just not being able to survive here. And my only criticisms of Toronto are that the stuff that is so amazing about it is getting you know choked out by lifeless whatever developments and like you know all the usual
All
complaints
the
and
usual stuff
gentrification
that are
things, right?
happening to great
Yeah,
cities across
yeah,
the world, basically. Yeah.
for sure.
Okay. That's interesting. Well, just since you've talked so much about having not been from here and then coming to it and then living here, I'm curious, what were the venues you liked going to when you weren't here, and have they changed now that you are here?
Mm,
Obviously, some have probably closed or whatever, but are there any
yep.
holdovers?
Um, Actually, yeah, we were talking about this recently. We've never played Lee's Palace, but Lee's
Okay.
Palace was the one in my
Yep.
mind that was, wow, Lee's Palace. I've seen some of the best shows ever there. I think I saw Dave Bazan there. I saw Silver Mount Zion. Like, I'm thinking some early shows I went to.
Yeah. It's in
Why?
movies. It's in movies, like it was
Yeah,
in Scott Pilgrim or whatever.
so I still have a lot of love for Lee's Palace now. Like, as an older person or whatever, it's kind of loud, it's crowded, and like it's not actually that nice looking in there. Like,
No,
but I still have some love for Lee's Palace, and I mean, I
that's
went to
funny.
Horseshoe a few times for shows as a younger person.
Of course, yeah.
Um, it was mostly those two venues. Like, I think that I liked the bands that were like whatever successful enough to be touring and play that about that size of room.
Yeah.
I didn't go to too many like big shows in Toronto back then. Um, but yeah, I guess I think I saw some at Garrison too. Like, and
Okay.
we play Garrison a bunch now.
Sure.
Um, but yeah, mostly I was going to those shows. But yeah, we haven't played Lee's. Be cool to do that at some point, just to make little Kenny feel like I made it happen or something.
And now, what would you say are your favorite venues?
Um, I mean, I have some love for the Baby G. I think
Dude, I love the
just because
Baby
we've
G.
played a lot of good shows there. Like, I've
Or
seen a lot
sorry.
of good shows there.
Yeah.
That's okay.
My bad.
And I can walk to I can walk there from my place. I just, but it again, like kind of like Lee's. If you look around, it's like it is just a black room. Like, it's nothing too special. But I think the booking is good there. I mean, I think they just book a lot of my favorite bands.
Yeah.
That are at a level to play a room like that size, whatever, like not super huge. So the shows are usually intimate and memorable. Um, so yeah, I feel like that's really up there. Um,
Great choice. I was gonna say, what about Transac? You like Transac
oh,
or
Transac, of
yeah, yeah.
course. I mean, community wise, especially. I mean,
Exactly.
that's the best vibe there, and like, um, I think every show that we ever play there is more like of a special thing. I think because they pay their staff well, so it becomes more expensive, I think, to book. So it's like
Yeah.
you have to kind of plan that event a little more carefully, maybe than one that's kind of more the bar sales or whatever are all they really need to make the thing work or whatever. And so so yeah, the Transac is really super special. Playing that main room, it always feels really nice, especially they have a piano.
Totally.
Um, yeah, so those are probably the two big ones. Going to shows, I mean, Massey Hall is probably the most beautiful, like actual like room,
Yes.
like to hear the music
It's
and
gorgeous. Yeah.
like the beautiful space. Um, yeah,
Absolutely. No, great choices. For the
yeah.
last two questions, for the last two official questions anyway, I asked, if we can, let's keep it to Little Kid. As much as I'm
Sure.
sure you have great teenage stories, but so the next question is, what do you think is Little Kid's best song, whatever that means to you?
Best song.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, I guess recency bias again.
Hmm.
I'm grateful that this song is also seems to be one of our most popular songs now too. But Bad Energy from the new album is one I'm probably most proud of, just because I feel like it's ambitious in its scope. It's very long. It tackles more um, wide ranging kind of subject matter than I've usually dealt with. It's a little less. It's still involved with personal things, but it reaches into some political and global stuff. Um, so I am glad that I was able to go there a little bit more. And I feel like it is very much a little kid song, like through and through. Like it's like that's the thing we do. It's very repetitive melodically. It's long verses with a little hook at the end,
Hmm.
which is my favorite format for a song to be. Basically,
I love that
um,
format.
yeah. So I think that's probably the choice. I think there are other songs. I mean, generally the long ones. When the long ones work out, I feel the best about those. I feel like that's kind of our thing. This kind of meditative, repetitive thing. I feel good when we do that. So Bad Energy is probably the choice, and I'm grateful that people also like it. When I recorded it, I recorded the demo. I think I was like, "Oh shoot, it's another one of those long songs," and I thought this is one that I'm gonna like, but I'm not sure
Uh
my
huh.
band is gonna like it. I'm not sure the people will eventually like it to listen to it, and there was a lot of debate in the band about whether it could be. I wanted it to be track 2 right away, and that took a bit of I had to use what I call my strong mayor powers to push it through, like John Tory style, and be like,
Yeah.
"It's going to be track 2," and I feel good about that. I think it makes sense up front. It is one of the songs that people seem to remember from it, and it is catchy in its way. So yeah, probably
Well,
would be my choice.
well, following up on what you said it's you can tell it's successful and people like it. I'm sure some of that is a vibe thing, some of it is people talking about it at a show you play or whatever. But I'm also curious, like, is it just literally one of the more successful ones in terms of plays online or what's
Yep,
radio or whatever? Is it also that, or do you judge
I think
success based
so.
on? Okay, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think it with like we didn't get a whole lot of press on the album, but that one got a bit more people posting about it and things, and we Spotify or whatever listens wise. I haven't checked recently, but I remember being there's a song on the album that's called Somewhere in Between that's more like 4 minutes ish and like a lot more peppy, and we all thought that would be the single that would do the best, and we had it as our third single,
Yeah.
and it kind of came out and was a bit of a hiccup. Like a lot of people who like our band, I think, really like that song, and it goes over live very well. But for whatever reason, Bad Energy on streaming did well, and I thought for sure I was like, we had to debate whether that could even be a single because it's so long and kind of just very dark and heavy, kind of. So I was like, I was definitely surprised, but by almost every metric, it is one of the most popular and successful songs. But so
Wow.
it's nice that it also feels successful artistically and
Yeah, it
like
aligns
lyrically.
with what you
So
actually
yeah,
like. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
for sure.
Uh, the last thing I want to ask about that, the your best song in your opinion, and the fact that it's a 6 minute song, like you said, uh, you already talked about it sonically. You like these looping things. You like a recurring melody and over and over and that kind of thing. But lyrically, the reason I like long songs is because there's a lot of, as the songwriter, is there's a lot of real estate for lyrics.
Mm,
Like,
for sure.
is that what you like too? You okay? Great. I can really say what I want to say and work it out instead of having a shorter, poppier song where maybe total you have like 25 lyrics.
For sure. I think that is not really a a way I approach like the writing process really
Okay.
at all. I don't think I'm not. I think it comes out as long, maybe because I had a lot to say or whatever. I'm not usually thinking, well, I want to make a long one today, or I want to make
A short one
a
today.
popular one.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, when I'm making it, I'm not necessarily even aware that it's so long because sometimes I mean it really depends on how like Bot Energy has a lot of words, so I think on the page you probably could tell it's long. Um, but like what qualifies as silence is the last song, and
Mm-hmm.
probably if you held those two next to each other, what qualifies as silence probably has like half as many words, but it's a full 10 minutes. I think just
Right.
because there's a lot of space in between each melodic line. There's kind of a gap in
Yeah.
between the singing. Um, anyway, sorry, that's too much detail. But
No,
when
not at
I'm
all.
writing, usually I'm kind of getting into more just like what is the hook, not necessarily hook like a pop like
No, no, I get what you
melody
mean.
thing, but what's the catchy kind of idea of this song? Like, what's the heart of the song?
Yeah.
And how many ways can I come at it? Like, is there maybe with bad energy, there were 7
Mm-hmm.
examples of bad energy that came to mind in that day of writing or
Mm-hmm.
whatever and could be crafted into this thing. And if that day I had been feeling less creative, maybe I would have only had 4 ideas and it would have been a 4 verse song and that would have been a shorter song and maybe not feel as successful in a way. But it's usually just yeah. How many? I don't. I sometimes I do write many verses, and I whittle it down to the ones that are feeling better.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, usually it's just how many ideas can I pull from it, and I will. I don't. I guess I don't. Maybe some people. Maybe I should in some ways have this question of should it be this long,
Right.
pop into your head, but it doesn't really for me usually. I guess which is really freeing. I mean, it's nice that I've had a long time of doing this, and I have bandmates who I know can help work a song that is quite repetitive and make it into something interesting. And um,
Well,
yeah,
the funny part is I think just generally you're right. People like shorter stuff. It's funny that you wouldn't necessarily set out to write a long one, but you don't mind. But then you think, oh, maybe I could taper it off to be more palatable or whatever. And then the irony is one of your best, most successful songs is not a short song. So
yeah, yeah,
then why would you? You know what I mean? Just do whatever
for
you
sure.
like.
Yeah,
It's fun. It's a funny
follow
lesson.
the idea. Yeah, follow
Yeah,
the heart of it until it
do justice to the
feels
idea in your
satisfying. Yeah,
opinion. Yeah,
for
yeah.
sure.
Well, we are at the titular question,
Mhm.
and that is, what do you think Little Kid's worst song is?
Yeah, I went. I mean, I had a pretty quick answer in my mind, and today I thought more about it, and I listened to that song, and I listened to another one that was kind of a contender,
Uh-huh.
and I decided my initial idea was correct. I think it would probably be my choice. I asked my bandmates for a little input too, and at least I asked Paul and Brody in our chat we have, and I think they were generally agreeing with me too. But
Okay.
there's this song called "Shirt." It's from our second album, River of Blood. So I kind of assumed it would be something from the first album I liked the least.
Okay.
Um, but in general, the second album, River of Blood, is the one I probably like the least out of all of our albums. Like
Just as a
I have
whole thing.
as a whole,
Yeah.
I have really good memories of making it, and Brody worked really hard on mixing it, and like it was a good time making it. But I just think it's a little less sure of itself or something
Uh-huh.
maybe than the other ones. But the song "Shirt" is like um, I think the main thing that really puts it in underneath some of the other ones for me is that the way that I'm singing in it. It's just very. I think I picked the key very low, and I remember
Oh.
in that time being. I don't know. I think I really liked David Bazan and
Mm-hmm.
some other low singers, and I think I maybe wished at the time that my voice was lower. And I definitely don't wish that now. I've become much more comfortable singing in higher like pitches, and I like singing. I'm more comfortable singing there. I think I can make my voice sound prettier
Mm-hmm.
when it is higher. But this song is just sung in this really low, kind of monotonous thing, and I hate the way my voice sounds in the recording. So that's a big piece of it. But also the song is just not. It's just a very kind of to me inconsequential
Hmm.
song. It's not offensive to me. Like I'm not like cringing at the lyrics too much, but I'm also like, I don't think I'm saying anything really with this song. It's just kind of loose, vague Christian imagery and
Okay.
just an overall kind of feeling of whatever doubtful stuff, whatever the vibe of little kid early stuff was definitely a lot of that kind of questioning whatever religious stuff. But this one just doesn't really have much to say. Um, and I just think the vocals are pretty bad sounding, and it just doesn't do much for me. Yeah,
Oh, fair enough.
yeah.
The follow up I usually ask about the worst song choice is, and I don't know this, maybe you are. Uh, have you ever considered reviving it but changing it? Like you could just, like you said, the
Mhm.
key was one of the biggest issues with it, so you could always just throw a capo on the guitar or whatever, and
Yeah,
it would partially solve that problem. So what?
for sure.
Yeah, how do you approach that if you play it live? Would you play it live, etc.?
I think that I don't know if we just talked about it or if we just practiced it. There was a time in like maybe 2016 ish time where me and Paul and Brody were playing as a three piece, and I kind of remember talking about playing that song. And we have another song from the same album, Lazarus Stone, and it's also in the key of C. I think they're right next to each other on the album. They're both kind of dirgy songs in A minor, and I'm singing low. And Lazarus Stone we play now in D or in B minor, like we bring it up,
Yeah, you brought it
and
up.
I could sing it a lot higher. And we kind of turn that into a sludgy kind of stoner rock, kind of really dark song, and it's one of our favorite songs actually to play, like from older songs live. But I think that it's just that one has something. It has more of a like that kind of hook or that idea to it. Whereas Shirt, like even Shirt doesn't have a chorus. It has like just an like I'm doing a vocal melody, and
Yes,
it's
I see.
not interesting. It's not an interesting vocal melody. So it's like I do that on a few on River Blood. I think that's a piece of it too. Is like I guess I kind of wanted to have a chorus maybe, but I didn't actually write a chorus. So
It was
there's
like
not any.
perfunctory almost.
Yeah, it's like maybe I could have finished that song
Okay.
with the chorus and made it have more of a, or found a chorus that worked and then made the verses more connect to that, and it might have been felt like more of a finished song. But my Nicole sings on it. This who was was my partner at the time, and I have a lot of affection for her. And it's nice that recording exists. And there's clarinet on it. There's little things. There's a really nasty guitar tone at the end that sounds cool. When I listened to it today, I was like, there are nice things about it for me when I listen to it. It had good memories, but I just it's mostly the singing and the. I wouldn't want to resurrect it because I don't really believe in it as a
Sure.
song too much. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Fair enough. No, that you hit on a lot of different things for why it doesn't.
Okay, well, as you can hear, the sound became fucked up. So whatever. Hope you enjoyed the interview. Still gonna play the worst song, and thank you very much.
Climb the fence behind the church. Tore the hem of my new shirt. Earned it fair by casting lots. Neath the shadow of the cross. Now I'm lost. chew me up, then spit me out. Fill my cup, then send a drought. Kill this city in a flood. Wash the filthy in